15 years, one thing that I have definitely learned, and it has been reinforced, is that people are always the biggest differentiator. What startups and what organizations today are looking for is not just your skill set, but your mindset. About how much background work have you done about the organization? What do you know about the business? What do you know about the person that you're talking to? What do you know about the problem that they are solving for? Conversations really determine, if both the sides are succeeding together. That's the kind of conversation, or that's the kind of candidate that we really go after. And hence and I love the fact that everybody who joins us adds a little bit of their personality to the culture that we are able to build over here. Great companies are really built because everybody does not because everybody thinks alike. It's about because different people come with a different perspective. They're able to align on some of the values. Seekho is a place for innovative builders. In my mind, performance and well-being don't compete with each other. So there is not one over the other. I feel that they enable each other. Right? At Seekho, we are very intentional about the kind of culture we are building. We believe in a very, very high culture, high care kind of a setup. And by the way, one of our core values is learn every day. Right? I think as a recruiter, you get like the driver's seat at the business. Right? I think the best leaders don't really focus only on policy building. They build great organizations.
Hi viewers, every day thousands of talented professionals apply for job, prepare for interviews and still receive the same frustrating email. We have decided to move ahead with another candidate. The reality is most candidates don't lose opportunities because they lack talent, but they lose because they don't understand how hiring decisions are actually made. So today we are going to go behind the scenes of recruitment to understand what recruiters actually look for, why good candidates get rejected, how AI is changing hiring, what great company cultures look like, and how you can build a career that's relevant for the future. To help us answer these questions, I have invited someone who has spent over 15 years building high-performing teams across some of India's fastest-growing organizations. She has helped scale companies through periods of rapid growth, shape people strategies, and has a front-row seat to what separates candidates who get hired from those who don't. So without wasting a single second, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Let's hear it from Karuna Casuba, Vice President Human Resources at Seekho, which is India's fastest growing edutainment companies. Karuna ji, welcome to Let's Hear It From.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Jay. It is a pleasure being on the show with you.
Thanks. I quickly come to the first question, madam. We all want to know about your journey to HR leadership. Karuna ji, you have worked across hospitality, technology, consumer internet and high growth startups before becoming a VP HR at Seekho. Looking back, what were the defining experiences and decisions that shaped your leadership journey that made you what you are today?
Great question to start with. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for posting that. I think while the industries have been very, very varied, and it was a very conscious choice that I had made very early on, that I do not want to, specify myself to a certain industry particularly, because everything comes with its own nuances, and I obviously wanted the entire exposure of, what different industries particularly do. But in the 15 years, one thing that I have definitely learned, and it has been reinforced, is that people are always the biggest differentiator. Yes. And that's where my role becomes even more enhanced, right? Because I really want to work with people and ensure that these people are being able to keep themselves ahead of the times. Early on in my career, I was only focused on processes, etc., and laying out the policies and everything else. But very soon, I was able to transition into solving a lot of business-related problems that was becoming very second nature to what HR professionals really end up doing. Today, how I see my role panning out is building exceptional teams. We're enabling a lot of these leadership team members. We're creating a culture where all of our employees can really perform, they can grow, and they can feel belonged, right? At Seekho, this has been reinforced, right? I am looking at building a very, very high performing organization, which are not really built only based on great policies. They are built typically on a lot of trust, a lot of ownership, a lot of accountability, a lot of continuous learning that we are able to give to the people, along with the leaders who are able to mentor them and raise the bar day after day. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Such an amazing career span you have. Ma'am, let's quickly move on to the next question. My favorite question. Let's come to the point. It's basically on what great talent looks like. Karuna ji, after interviewing and hiring thousands of people, please tell us, please enlighten us what separates candidates who merely meet the normal requirements from those who truly stand out and become high performing employees.
Sure. In my experience, I think skills will definitely help you qualify, right? That is the bare minimum that you have to definitely have. But what startups and what organizations today are looking for is not just your skill set, but your mindset, because that is what really takes you a longer distance, right? Candidates who are continuously curious, naturally curious about what they want to do and what is there in the ecosystem for them to be able to explore, are ready to take on ownership without really being told what needs to be done next. Learning fast becomes one of the major skills, are okay with the ambiguity around them, because nothing in this world remains constant today, right? The only constant is change. If they're able to adapt to all of these things, I feel that those are the kind of candidates that are a definite yes for any organization in today's world. We definitely hire for capability, but we are equally interested in some of these parameters that I spoke to you about: the learning agility, the accountability, the showing up for yourself, being able to inspire others, and being able to take yourself from what you were when you joined us versus how you grow within the organization. I think that is the entire gamut of things that we look for in today's world in terms of high performers.
Absolutely. Let's deep down more into it. Karuna ji, from a recruiter's perspective, what are the biggest mistakes job seekers make during the interview that cost them job opportunities, even when they have the right qualifications and the skill sets?
Sure. I think we've always seen people preparing for a particular interview, right? We understand that there is a certain role, there's a certain JD. We go through the JD and we say, okay, let's respond to these questions or the skill sets that would particularly be asked for this particular JD, and then maybe I will be able to crack it. But I think it's a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more holistic these days, right? It's about how much background work have you done about the organization? What do you know about the business? What do you know about the person that you're talking to? What do you know about the problem that they are solving for? Talking about, what is the responsibilities instead of just talking about outcomes and achievements is something that becomes very, very imperative. I think these days what we have also seen that the strongest candidates ask a lot of thoughtful questions. They understand what the mission or the vision of the organization is and come across very, very genuinely curious about some of these things, which really puts them right in front to be able to challenge some of the other candidates that are only prepared about what they are here to do, what they have done in the past, and what they're really here to offer, right? These conversations really determine if both the sides are succeeding together. That's the kind of conversation, or that's the kind of candidate that we really go after. And hence the mistake really becomes about not only coming prepared for a certain interview, but holistically about the org, about the role, about the industry.
Absolutely. Job seekers, if you're listening, this was an amazing piece of advice. Ma'am, let's move further to my favorite question, company cultures. Karuna ji, everyone is talking about cultural fitments, company cultures and all. So how do you evaluate whether someone will thrive in your organization? And most importantly, and can a candidate be successful even if they don't fit the traditional mold?
Got it. This is my favorite topic too. I have done, culture and everything for the last 12 years now. So it comes very close to my heart. What I truly believe in, Ajay, over here is that a culture fit is not something that really is something that I believe in. I feel that anybody who joins the organization or a candidate that shows interest to be able to join the organization will not be a mold that you would want to fit them in, because everybody comes with a personality of their own.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that everybody who joins us adds a little bit of their personality to the culture that we are able to build over here.
Correct.
If I were to think about my previous organizations, be it Urban Ladder, be it Trebo Hotels, Home Lane, or now at Seekho, what has happened is that obviously the founders have built in the first set of guiding principles, particularly as to how the organization will function. But as and when people started getting added to the entire ecosystem, their DNA also started to reflect in the ways of working at each of the organizations. And that's how the great companies are really built, because everybody does not because everybody thinks alike. It's about because different people come with a different perspective. They're able to align on some of the values that we have set up for ourselves. It's not about having the same photocopy of everybody together, right? At Seekho also, we are very, very less interested in knowing that whether this person fits a mold, because we definitely don't go by that. We definitely have our set of values that we go after. We obviously value a lot of people coming with these traits that I spoke to you about in terms of ownership, having high trust, wanting to learn more, being very curious, etc. These different personalities, I feel, make us stronger. Shared principles obviously keep us aligned, but these personalities make us stronger.
Madam, let's deep down more into being very specific inside Seekho's company culture. Seekho has scaled rapidly, while building a strong brand and a mission.
Yeah.
I know you have touched this question, but I still want to get deep down into it. So, what kind of people thrive at Seekho, and what makes your employee value proposition compelling for prospective and top talent?
Sure. Seekho is a place for innovative builders. We ensure that we are able to tell them what our problem statement is. We have the expertise of people coming obviously with their skill sets, with their experience. We give them the avenue to be able to experiment a lot, because like I said, some of our hiring principles mean that they're naturally curious, they're looking to do exciting work, they're looking at doing a lot of innovative work over here, they're highly adaptable, etc., etc. So that's why they solve for real problems, and they're solving it very, very fast. So we're giving them the ownership, and they're able to grow much faster than any other organization that I can think about today. So our value proposition is really, really simple, right? Like I said, we trust people, we give them a lot of meaningful work, we invest in their growth for sure. We encourage that they're able to collaborate cross-functionally, because that's where the learning comes from very, very well. We measure them in terms of genuine efforts that they have been able to put, the outcomes that they've been able to show, the impact that they've been able to drive, and that's what really attracts people that who want to build and not just execute. And that's the kind of culture we've built at Seekho.
Amazing. Job seekers, if you are listening, Seekho is the right place for you. If you have a learning ability and if you have a collaborative mindset, then Seekho is the best place for you. Ma'am, let's move forward to employee well-being and employee performance. Organizations today are balancing between performance expectations and employee well-being. So how do you create an environment at Seekho where people can perform at a high level without burning out?
Got it. In my mind, performance and well-being don't compete with each other. So there is not one over the other. I feel that they enable each other, right? If I'm being taken care of, if I'm being told that, there is a certain opportunity that I have with me to be able to perform at a certain level, but if in any scenario, there is any situation, personal, professional, anything that I need to take care of, I am given the time to be able to take care of that. I will see that, the kind of work that or the commitment that I'm being given, or seeing at work is multifold. Yes. Right? At Seekho, we are very intentional about the kind of culture we are building. We believe in a very, very high culture, high care kind of a setup. Right? This really means that we set up very, very high standards for people for their performance, but we also ensure that we are human at the beginning, at the end, and at the center of everything that we do. So we want to succeed sustainably, if you may, right? So having very clear goals, having continuous feedback loops, protected focus times that we have on a day-to-day basis for all of the people to do very, very deep, meaningful work for themselves. We have meaningful time off sessions. We have wellness weekends that we have where people really take some time off to be able to be with loved ones, to do what they really are passionate about. We have comprehensive healthcare packages, etc. These are the things that really create the environment to say that, my employees are being taken care of, and that's something that is the environment that we've built. So people will typically end up burning out if they work really hard without any sort of clarity, any purpose, or any kind of recognition that they're able to get, right? But we feel that because we've been able to encompass all of these things with a lot of high care while there is high performance driven culture, I think this is something that is very, very well taken by all of our employees, who we call dots, by the way, at Seekho. That's the way we do it.
Yes, amazing. Ma'am, let's move on to L&D, but in the AI era. Ma'am, with skills becoming obsolete, faster than ever, how should employees approach learning and career growth? And what role should organizations play, and what responsibilities lies within the individual?
So we are a learning platform, Seekho, the product that we have right now. We know that learning is very, very important for anybody, and we know that there's an entire market out there wanting to every day learn and become a better version of themselves, right? So learning has definitely, from a employee perspective, has definitely moved from becoming a career advantage only to becoming a career necessity. Right? Learning, and by the way, one of our core values is learn every day, right? We ensure that we have a lot of opportunities that are provided, platforms that are provided to our dots to be able to learn and become better versions of themselves. Because what has been relevant for us up until yesterday would not have been relevant today, because the world is moving at a very, very fast pace, right? We definitely encourage all of our teams to experiment a lot with AI, that being the now and here thing, right? It's a wave that we definitely need to ride along with, because then that really leaves us at the back end. It's one of the most productive tools that we have, and that's something that there's no longer a question whether you will use AI. It's just about how effectively will you use it, right? At Seekho, we run a bunch of initiatives around learning, right? We have something called Friday AI, which is every Friday we have a group of dots coming together to showcase how is it that they have made AI part of their lives for their day-to-day kind of use, right? That's number one. We have AI learning workshops. We have identified accelerators within the organization that will be put in different teams that will really help in automating a bunch of things that people do on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, we have learning reimbursements that we typically end up paying out to the folks for their learning interventions that they plan to do outside of this ecosystem. Internally also, we identify a lot of places where there are skill related interventions that we plan for each of our dots, and we are able to provide them a lot of opportunities to learn. People who really are able to combine a lot of their domain expertise with the adaptability, critical thinking, AI fluency, and everything else. And that's why we are obviously trying to be on top of our game to be able to ensure that learning stays top notch for everybody.
Amazing. Such an well articulated answer. Madam, now let's move forward to a slightly sensitive topic: workplace ethics and professional reputation. Ma'am, now in the era where careers are moving fast and workplace pressures are actually very high, what workplace ethics and professional behaviors do you believe are absolutely non-negotiable? One, and what are some ethical lapses or behaviors that can quietly damage a person's career even if they are highly talented?
Sure. There's a famous saying which goes that you build your reputation for a huge number of years, and then it takes like a couple of moments to be able to tarnish that, right? So your reputation is built not on the built in the small moments, but not really the bigger ones, right? Because it's just about how consistently you're doing something, right? So be it integrity, be it accountability, be it respecting your folks within the organization, and trusting each other. These are absolutely non-negotiables. Taking ownership when things go wrong, giving credit wherever it's due, honoring your commitments, taking care of some of the things that you have said, treating people with respect. All of these are really, really long-term, and this very, very poor collaboration, taking credit for somebody else's work, not showing up for yourself when there is something that is due. Avoiding accountability on anything. Some of these things are really tarnishing careers right now. there's careers are really sustained by trust far more than talent in today's day and age. So I feel that's something that resonates with me.
Absolutely. Ma'am, moving forward, let's talk about AI jobs and the workforce of tomorrow. There's a lot of anxiety around AI replacing jobs. Which jobs do you believe will change the most? What human skills will become valuable? And how should job seekers prepare for an AI driven future?
Sure. I think a lot of thought leaders have said this before me that, AI will never replace
Yes.
people. It will replace it'll change a lot of ways in which we are working, right? And it will definitely take up a lot of time and effort from a person to be able to become AI native. But those are the people that will really excel, who are able to adapt to AI very, very easily, right? What I feel is that, like it had happened in the era of technology, in terms of computers, in terms of internet and everything else, when that boom happened, we saw a lot of things changing, but people were still very much employed and people were very much trying to adapt their skills to becoming a little bit more digitally literate, right? Similarly, right now, like I said, in my own organization over the last 4 or 5 months, I have seen that a lot of routine repeated tasks have become automated, right? They allow a lot of people to start focusing on more meaningful kind of work, more creative decision making really kind of work, which really helps you solve a lot of harder related problems which are more strategic in nature. It will obviously take down a lot of mundane tasks that you can let the bot typically end up doing. The most valuable skills in the future won't really be just technical. They will involve a lot of judgment, your communication, empathy, adaptability, all of these things that are really not first nature to an AI system, but very first nature to humans, will typically end up thriving, right? At Seekho, like I said, because of this, we've been able to help build in the AI fluency through these practical applications that we have said, because AI literacy becomes a fundamental going forward, just as digital literacy is, right? And
Absolutely.
it's not something that we can
Yes.
keep second guessing.
Yes. Very, very well said. Let's move on further to career advice. I come across many fresh graduates, typically MBA, HR graduates, who are overlooking recruitment as a career path. Okay. Now, why do you believe recruitment can be one of the best foundations for anyone aspiring to become a great HR leader or a great business leader?
I think as a recruiter, you get like the driver's seat at the business,
Yes.
right? You are
Yes.
able to see what business really needs today. What are the pivots that it eventually intends to take in 3 months, 6 months, because you're trying to plan to the future. You're able to learn how leaders are thinking. You're looking at what kind of how the talent really is able to create a lot of competitive advantage, and how some of these decisions are being able to get influenced in the shaping of the entire organization's future, right? All of this is something that is very, very nuanced to leaders. It is very nuanced to recruiters, because they are the ones who are collaborating very, very closely with the
Yes.
leaders to be able to hire the right talent within the organization. So I think it teaches interviewing. Obviously, from a recruiter standpoint, it teaches the recruiter or a fresher, if you were to nuance it that way, what are some of the ways to interview? How do you manage stakeholders? How do you negotiate? I think it gives you a lot of great judgment. It builds a lot of business acumen from the first day itself, because you're obviously thrown at the deep end of the pool. It gives you, I think it gives you like a great view of how great companies are built. So I think recruitment is a great ways to start your career.
Yes, MBA HR candidates, if you are listening, this was one of the best answers I have ever received from an HR leader. One more question for HR professionals, for young HR professionals watching this: what experience, skills, and career choices are essential if they are looking for a long-term career goal to become an HR head or a CHRO?
Sure. Like I said, do not restrict yourself to a certain sub function within the HR. Let me start off over there, right? I feel that you should get a lot of exposure via projects, via different teams, etc., into talent acquisition, into business partnering, into learning, into organizational development, employee experience. There are so many facets of it. But I think it's also important to be able to have a great business acumen. So being able to interact very well with the leaders and being able to walk hand in hand with them to be able to make impact on the business and not only be restricted to some of the things that I mentioned from the HR framework standpoint really become very essential. I think the best leaders don't really focus only on policy building. They build great organizations, and that gets built only because you understand the business nuances as well. They are able to influence the business decisions, particularly. They're able to develop leaders. They're able to navigate a lot of change, which I've also seen very, very closely. They're able to build a lot of high performing cultures, where that becomes the norm. So that's the way I would look at it.
Amazing. Okay, Karuna madam, we have spoken about hiring, cultures, careers, and the future of work, and now it's time for my favorite round, rapid fire. Short questions, short answers, no overthinking. My first rapid fire question goes to you right now. Degrees or skills?
Degrees or skills?
Yes.
Skills.
Experience or potential?
Potential.
Artificial intelligence or emotional intelligence, which will matter more 5 years from now?
Emotional intelligence will always be on top for me.
Wow. The fastest way for a candidate to impress you during an interview in the first 5 minutes?
I think telling me something that your resume doesn't tell me about yourself and how it will help, solve for a bunch of problems that I'm dealing with.
Great. The fastest way for a candidate to lose the job opportunity?
Being very bookish about everything.
Okay. One word that describes your ideal employee?
Somebody who's super smart and very agile and very curious.
One workplace habit every professional should develop?
Learning continuously.
Great. One workplace behavior you have zero tolerance for?
Integrity. If you have no integrity, that doesn't work for me.
One hiring myth that needs to die?
Hiring myths. AI generated resumes, I guess.
Great. So what's more difficult today, finding great talent or retaining great talent?
I think retaining great talent is the challenging task. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's the more challenging task. But people have to be able to adapt a lot to be able to do that better, because there's a lot of great companies doing a lot of great work today.
Yes, my last rapid fire question for this episode goes to you right now. One book or podcast every young professional should watch or read?
Okay. I think Raj Shamani's podcasts are very, very varied in terms of the topics, the kind of guests that he's being able to get. I think in today's day and age, any fresher that your podcast is reaching out to, you should definitely hear out the kind of conversations that happen on that podcast, because it gives you a lot of deep insights, not necessarily restricted to the HR corporate world particularly, but it gives you a lot of nuance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, Karuna madam, thank you so much for joining us today. This wasn't just a conversation about HR, it was a masterclass on careers, hiring, leadership, and the future of work. And to everyone watching, if even one insight from today's conversation made you look at your career a little differently, then this episode definitely deserves to be a part of your journey too. Viewers will be back with another inspiring leader and another conversation that helps you build more meaningful career. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, let's hear it from Stay Connected.